I'm Carla Hinton, reporting for the Oklahoman and NewsOK.com. I'm here in the studio with Edmond residents Cheri Fuller and her daughter, Plum. They have written a new book called Mother-Daughter Duet, Getting to the Relationship You Want with Your Adult Daughter. First of all, thanks for coming in today.
Well, thank you, Carla. We're really glad to be here.
Good, good. Well, I have a few questions for you about the book. First of all, why did you decide to write Mother-Daughter Duet?
We have gone through many seasons in our relationship. It is a zigzag sort of journey to becoming adult friends, partly because we're very, very different, and because the mother-daughter relationship is complex. It's you go through your daughter's teen years, there's a natural separating from mom, and then, there's just a lot of adjustment and transition. And we feel like that if we can turn out to be really good adult friends,
right,
that anyone can with their daughter,
okay.
And yet there are some things we learned that we wanted to share with mothers and with daughters. And all the way from making peace with your mother, whether she's still on the earth or whether she's passed away, making peace with your daughter, principles like accepting, like experiencing the power of forgiveness and saying, I'm sorry when you need to, finding new, fresh ways to connect, and the book is full of those. And so we discovered this along the way, these principles, and we wanted to share our story and the story of other mothers and daughters that we've interviewed.
Okay, good,
yeah.
good. Allie, did you have something to say along those lines? Or?
Yes, I think I wanted to be a part of it. Once we went through our transformative experience that brought us closer about 3 years ago, we wanted to share that particular story to encourage that through crisis you can really become closer. And then also I wanted to be basically a portal so that the mother can see maybe what her adult daughter is feeling and thinking at different points in her life, through college, through working years. When I had my children, what would have helped and what helped that my mom did or didn't do. And so I wanted to be that voice, a perspective that maybe the mother hadn't heard or thought her own daughter was saying, but in fact was, and she just couldn't hear or see it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
good.
so every
That's
chapter has a daughter's perspective,
Okay.
and that's one of the reasons that daughters, 20, 30-somethings, even 40-somethings, really love reading it because, they can relate to that, to
Right.
what a daughter feels, whether her mother is 40, 50, or 80.
Okay. Now, what was it like to write the book together? I have a daughter. She's a teenager, but I have a daughter, and so I'm wondering what was it like doing that together?
I think it was the process of writing the book ended up being a lot of what the content ended up being, because the year that we wrote it, about a year and a half, it was a picture of sort of the last 12 years from the time I was 19, to 30, and up until the point that we wrote the book. And so I think we went through the ebbs and flows of wanting closeness, wanting distance, needing to be honest, needing our space to write on our own. And then, collaborating together, we learned a whole lot about communication that we'd never been really pressed to learn.
Okay.
So I feel like it was a really growing experience, but it was also really challenging at times. And we had to give each other a whole lot of grace in the writing it out, because there was a lot that we had to give and take and learn to listen to each other in a whole new way.
Okay.
And along the way, we learned a lot. We had a good relationship when we got the contract and proposed it to my publisher.
Okay.
But along the way, in the process that she's talking about of that year of writing it, it definitely deepened our relationship. and gave us new opportunities to process what had been going on for a number of years and to get the understandings from interviewing countless women about their relationships with their mothers, doing the research. All of that brought new understandings, and really I invited her to do this project because I've done a lot of books by myself, but I really feel like she's insightful and talented as a 33-year-old, and I wanted to give her an opportunity to express that and to see how she liked the writing life.
Good. Well, I think it's fascinating to me. Why does it seem that the mother-daughter relationship is so complex sometimes? I mean, you mentioned that earlier when you were talking.
I think one of the reasons is because, when our daughters are born, we're so excited. Whether it's your first daughter or your third daughter, we're so excited, and when she's little, we're so close, and we just give them all we've got. We just love them. We want the best for them. I call it, I mentioned in the book, I refer to a book I wrote called When Mothers Pray, that when your child is born, it's like you have one of those little creatures that grows and grows and grows to 300 times its size that often you get in a cereal box. And that's like the mother heart, because as you're expecting your daughter and then she's born, you have this mother bear kind of heart. You want to protect her, you want the best for her, you want to, it's a mothering thing. Right. And it's built in. And but as she grows, that mother heart can turn into control, can turn into anxiety, can cause you to try to mold her into what you think she's supposed to be, can carry lots of expectations. Right. And those things are things as moms we need to deal with and gradually be letting our daughters go as they grow, in the sense of letting her be herself. And that's one of the things, is that it's an intense relationship, it's always changing, and that makes it complicated. And you get two women in a house, even just two, with these personalities that may be different and changing. You have a recipe for conflict. Right. You also have a recipe for joy and some wonderful moments over lunch. But there's just a lot of growth that needs to take place on both people's part to become adult friends.
Okay. And what do you have to say about that, Allie?
I think that she's totally right. One of the main things that we can feel and sense as we leave the sort of high school, teenage years and try to become ourselves, which it is a process, and I think we want our mothers to recognize that it's a process and value us at the beginning stages of that, the middle stages, are becoming who we are, and really being seen for who we are or who we're becoming as women, and not looking at us as their daughter from, the pigtails in elementary school, or not seeing us in all the hopes and dreams and goals they have for us, and so I think the biggest desire as a daughter for me, and then some of the daughters I talked to, was just the desire to be seen and affirmed, versus criticized, or the unrealistic expectations that sometimes come without the mother even knowing maybe she's putting all that out there, all that, the expectations, because it might be in her mindset for the daughter's benefit. And I think we daughters want to feel free to make mistakes and find ourselves and live our lives. And I have a story of a friend who, it's a positive story. Her mother did let her go ongoingly, and so when she went to college, that was her time to sort of take responsibility for herself. And now she's my age, and she's an empowered woman, able to really conquer anything she sets her mind to, because she was let go of, and she was able to breathe and become who she was. And that usually happens at some point, but I think it helps the relationship between the mother and daughter if it happens earlier, in the early 20s or late teens. It just makes the relationship so much better, I think, later on.
And Carla, one of the things we point out is the number one cause. I mean, sometimes your relationship with your daughter is just stormy, and you just can't figure out why. But one of the things we point out is the number one cause for stormy relationships between a mother and daughter is the inability of the mom to accept her daughter as an adult. And when that happens, whenever the mom talks, the daughter hears control in all her words. And when the daughter speaks, the mother begins to hear anger in all of the daughter's words. And that just can carry that conflict. Not conflict, but that individuation, that separation, that sometimes a little bit of rebellion of teenage years. It can carry it on in through the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. You know, if moms are still trying to control and not accepting their daughters as a very distinct, unique adult.
It's interesting, and I know that you have taken a lot of time to think about this because you had to write the book. But what kind of response have you received from the book thus far?
I've received some really interesting responses from daughters who I think feel encouraged that there's a voice besides their voice that's saying some of these things that possibly maybe their mothers will hear from somebody else. And I think it is often that way. We hear sometimes better from someone who isn't the closest person to us, where especially if there's conflict. And so the response I've gotten has been a lot of friends my age and younger 20s have felt really affirmed by hearing someone else say it, and they're kind of excited about buying it for their mothers,
I was gonna say.
which wasn't something maybe we expected, but that I hope will benefit both and benefit ultimately the relationship.
And I've heard from a lot of moms and read reviews that are online now. You can go to Amazon.com and read some of those reviews. And one feedback that I got yesterday that I read is that really this is just as much for moms of teenage daughters because they need to be reading it now. And I got another response yesterday, a review that came in that she's in her 50s. This daughter is in her 50s. She has a daughter, but she's bought it for her 80-year-old mom because she said, my mom still treats me like a kid when we're together and orders me around, and you know. And so we've gotten even some response from mothers of sons that it's given them some insights on their adult sons. But it's for moms of daughters anywhere from high school up through college, the 20s, the 30s, and beyond, and for the daughters, because you know the daughters, some of them are reading my perspective and then seeing, that's not something I'd thought of that my mom may be thinking and feeling. So far we've really gotten a lot of feedback. It's only been out 2 weeks, but we have gotten a lot of feedback, and Mother's Day is coming up, so several have said it's the perfect Mother's Day gift. Right. So. Yeah, so.
Okay, well, thank you guys for coming in today to talk a little bit about the book.
Well, we have been really happy to do that, and appreciate your interviewing us, and we hope it's going to encourage and bless a lot of moms and daughters out there.
Sure. Well, thank you guys. This is Carla Hinton reporting for the Oklahoman and NewsOK.com. Read more about this subject in the Oklahoman.